The idea must die that even small isolated islands communities aren't worth investing in. They are sites of globally significant cultural, economic and ecological resources. They need and deserve adequate investment in their stewardship of these things which matter so much.
Other slides. So there was, we found there was concern relating to heritage and culture, and that the loss of that. There were concerns about the environment. They were which are voiced strongly, and also people's connections to the environment as well. And I will come back to this shortly because it feeds into the first workshop for phase 2. There was also, you could see the importance of spirituality and the importance of community. And again, this indicated the links and intersections with other aspects of personal well-being, especially that importance of community to personal well-being. There was concern that North Uist community was not being consulted or heard locally or nationally around key issues. So again, that's something that I don't think is a surprise for a lot of people. There's also a concern about Gaelic in all speaking categories, so the decline of Gaelic, and a wish to reverse the decline of the vernacular use. So that's the community use of Gaelic. And this is in relation to, and so we're talking about, coming back to the consultation of community, there was a lot of issues that came up about the specific issues about not being heard, but also there were concerns as well about Gaelic policy as well. So that again is something that I know that our UHI researchers are very interested in. There was strong support in the summary findings of recording place names and recording landmarks of importance. There was interest in the heritage walks, which say we've been piloting through the phase 1 of the Aire Air Sunnd project that we're going to be continuing to do, and other activities related to heritage and Gaelic. And the Gaelic classes are popular, and I believe we continue to have those. Well, the team are continue to run those at the school, and I believe they continue to be extremely popular. The local community as well voiced a keenness to develop the school, but also caution in relation to wanting there to be coherence with the other community groups. So specifically, I believe someone actually commented that it was really important that there wasn't any overlap. There are lots of community groups, and I suppose it's just that one where we're working together, but we're not overlapping, especially in, I suppose, small communities. That can be quite challenging.
We wanted to work with researchers to see how we might present better evidence to fund the refurbishment of Scoil Harnish.
My heritage has always been precious, but it became more precious after COVID, if that makes sense, because many of the people, sadly, that would talk about our well-being were no longer with us, and there was a new generation, if you like, coming in.
In the second year, we tried to delve deeper into our main concerns. We split these up, but in reviewing the resources on Guthan and Yellon, we found that we couldn't do this. A major finding was that each was so closely related that they were like the fingers of one hand.
I think that it was like strands came from the project, which led us to think about our history, our language, how we treated people who came in to live among us, those who were fluent in Gaelic, those who were keen to uphold Gaelic, those who still wanted to carry on with our traditions, and finding new ways, reaching across to those who had musical skills, those who were very artistic, and the committee that drew all that together over a cup of tea and a bit of banter.
One of the most beautiful things on these islands are that people live in peace and harmony. That's not by chance. That's not by mistake. That is because you, to this day, your ancestors, for the last 6,000 years, have relied on each other and on nature and on Mother Nature and on survival. But it's not a survival of anger or fighting, it is a survival of respect.
The Aire Air Sunnd survey showed that there was widespread concern across the community about the state of Gaelic in North Uist. That speaks to a well-being issue at community level, because this concern is shared not only by Gaelic speakers and Gaelic learners, but also by community members who are not Gaelic speakers, but nevertheless recognise the importance of Gaelic within the community, and are reluctant to see that resource dwindle and disappear.
Since child, I loved birds, I studied them, and every loss affects me in a way that is almost a visceral pain. This is a new term, solastalgia, instead of nostalgia. And he was a university professor, but also a psychologist, and he said in his praxis, in the last 7 years in Australia, more and more people came with signs of depression, of distress, and when he asked them what is the reason, more and more is the loss of places they knew. Beautiful places they used to play as children, they would go and visit, and they are destroyed. Maybe it's now just a parking place or so. This pain, and in being old, I start to cry. I have seen so many things disappearing, and it really affects me quite a lot.
And we are very fortunate as Gaels when we lose somebody in death that we can go to music and go to poetry for healing, because within that there is healing.
Initially there was just one or two, and it was tentatively very brave and rather foolish people like me would sing, and then to see people coming who were very proficient at playing and composing, and then to hear somebody who perhaps not formally trained in music, but just letting go, and the joy and the happiness in their playing was something to behold. And then to hear folk come in and talk about it, you know, do you know this tune? Can you sing this song? And a story would emerge, and a cup of tea, and the camaraderie that was round the group. I think that the music therapy is one that I would really support in carrying forward, I think, because it is just, for me personally, one of the best forms of therapy.
Art is for me one way which has helped me. Another way is celebration of what still is every day. So I would say, if you can find every day beauty somewhere and appreciate it, that is a great way to cope with it and keep it. Another way, or another word that comes up with me, is the word tenderness. I think we need tenderness towards ourselves in that pain and changes, and towards what we see. So beauty and tenderness, and a way to express. That is really what I want to say.
Funders, please could you meet together to look at larger capital funding proposals from small voluntary groups. See together what each of you might fund. We don't have any paid members, and the writing of bids and all the reports and evaluations is a mighty chore for those of us who are foolish enough to spend our voluntary time doing it.
What's the first line, the first verse?
O